Hi, everyone. Tanya Fowler here. I wanted to continue the conversations that I've been having with you all, of course, just one way on the power of communication. And what I want to focus on right now, though, is identifying stakeholders. Because when it comes to communication, obviously, knowing who you're dealing with and what type of information they need and all of that can really help you understand then what you're going to communicate, how you're going to communicate, how frequently you're going to communicate. And so I wanted to just take a moment to talk about that. And so let's go ahead and get to it. And let me share my screen here. All right. So first off, when it comes to identifying stakeholders, it's helpful if you perform a stakeholder analysis. And what that can actually do is that's going to allow you to, like I said, identify stakeholders. And then you can also, so this can be obviously in a work environment or even in a personal life environment. Knowing who all is involved in the situation is first step. Then it's about prioritizing those stakeholders. So knowing who actually is most important in that particular situation. So again, in work, it can be a project. At home, it can be some other scenario. But then understanding, then lastly, who the key stakeholders are. And most likely the prioritization that you've done is identifying those key stakeholders because they're going to be the ones up at the top. Now, what you can do after that is there's different techniques to apply here. And so a matrix is a really good and easy way to start to understand then, how to prioritize and understand your stakeholders and how you will then develop any sort of communication strategy with them. And so the example I'm providing here, this is compliments of mindtools.com. And so it's an example of a stakeholder analysis using two variables, power and interest. But what's really nice about it is because with a matrix design, typically anything that's over in that upper right quadrant, those are the ones that you're wanting to pay most attention to. And so when you think about your stakeholders, anybody that you would plot in a stakeholder analysis to say, okay, they maybe have the most power. They're also highly interested in this particular situation. So you're going to want to manage them closely. Obviously, if they're falling into the upper left or the lower right, these are kind of more moderate stakeholders. And so you might be, if they have power, then you're going to want to make sure that you're keeping them happy or satisfied. And if they're falling into maybe a higher though of interest, but maybe not a lot of power, then you're at least just wanting to keep them informed because they want to know what's going on. Obviously, when we're looking at a matrix, stakeholders that fall into the lower left quadrant, you still need to keep them as part of your communication plan, but not a lot of effort is needed to be put there because in this particular example, they have low power and low interest. But I think that it's really important overall for us to always just think about this when there's a lot of people involved in various scenarios, because we don't always have the bandwidth to put all of our effort into everything. And not everybody involved in our situations requires all of that energy and effort that you might be putting into how you communicate. So I leave you with this and just knowing that, again, this is kind of more from a work perspective, but if you can think about stakeholders in certain situations and develop your communication plans accordingly, this probably will have these benefits of helping you keep things organized in better shape. It's going to help you to win people over to help you with whatever project or situation you're in. I think building better understanding is really critical overall. We just want to make sure that we are building good relationships with people. And in work, a lot of times this will help us to get ahead of the game because again, we're thinking about how we need to communicate to whom and using our time and energy effectively. So, with that, I want to thank you all, obviously, for always being a part of this and listening to the content. I hope that these tips really help you out. Take care.